My heart beats only for you.
Oh, you say the sweetest things.
Isabella's love story began like a fairy tale, the type that makes people believe love is still pure. Rest came into her life when she least expected it. She met him at a friend's engagement party. He showed this personality that made people feel safe around him. When he spoke to her for the first time, his voice carried kindness. From that moment, her heart opened without struggle. Rest ticked all her boxes. He checked on her every morning, prayed with her when she felt overwhelmed, and spoke to her as though she was the only person that mattered. He surprised her with gifts, helped her run errands, and even showed up unannounced with one or two mind blowing gifts. Her friends were so happy for her. They would always say, "This man is not from this world, though. He's the definition of intentional." And truly, he was. At least, that was what she thought. They dated for 2 full years. In those years, Rest never raised his voice, never frowned, and never gave her a reason to doubt his love. He made her believe she was the luckiest woman alive. Most of her friends ended their relationships because of the way Rest treated her in public. To an extent, he became a standard for what they looked out for in a man. Isabella's mother loved him as well. He called her mom before marriage, and that made Isabella feel safe. But no one knew that behind that gentle smile, Rest was hiding something very dark. He had dated ladies in the time past, and his anger ruined everything. He wanted to settle down so fast, and so he decided to become an actor. And trust me, he played his role very well. He studied Isabella so deeply that he knew exactly what to say to make her laugh, what to do to make her forgive, and how to behave so no one could ever suspect him. When he proposed, it was like a movie scene. His words were so smooth because he had rehearsed it for good 3 weeks. Their wedding was beautiful. Rest cried during their vows, holding her hands tightly and saying, "I will protect you. I will love you and I will never hurt you." Everyone believed him, but life has a way of showing us that not every man who cries at the altar is a good person. The first few weeks after the wedding felt like heaven on earth. It began with laughter, breakfast in bed, love notes, and romantic surprises. But behind those smiles, the real Rest was watching quietly, waiting for the right time to remove his marks. Everyone around them tapped into their marital blessing because they believed Rest and Isabella were the perfect couple. One evening, Isabella wanted to visit her mother. She dressed up and said cheerfully, "Love, I'll be right back." Rest looked at her and said calmly, "Why?" "I just want to check on my mother," she replied. He smiled, but this time there was something different in that smile. "You are married now, Bella. You don't have to be going to your mother's house because people will think we have problems." She paused. It didn't sound harsh, but it didn't sound right either. Still, she nodded. "Okay, maybe I will go next week then." That was the first chain. Invisible, but yet very strong. The second came 2 days later. Isabella had a childhood friend named Joy. They had been close for years. Joy called one night and they talked for nearly an hour. Rest, who was reading a book, suddenly dropped it and said, "You talk too much with that girl. I don't like her." "Why?" Isabella asked respectfully. "She sounds disrespectful. I don't want her calling you anymore." "But she's my friend," Isabella tried to explain. "There? Choose her or me." It was the first time his tone carried power. She didn't want to argue, so she said softly, "Okay, I will reduce it." That was the second chain, tighter than the first. Soon, her circle of friends grew smaller, then disappeared completely. Rest deleted numbers from her phone and said, "Oh, it's by mistake. I am so sorry." He removed her from group chats, blocked her cousins, and changed her phone number. And then he tamed it for safety reasons. Isabella didn't even notice how quickly she became alone. Then the man who she thought loved her genuinely started scolding her for little things. "Why is the stew too salty? Why did you wear that dress? Who are you trying to impress? Why are you even walking like an antelope? Madam, be coordinated, I beg. Each question came like a small wound until her heart began to bleed quietly. At first, he would apologize after shouting. He would kneel beside her, hold her hands and say, "You know I love you, right? Just that you make me angry sometimes." She would cry and say, "I am sorry, I will do better." That became their circle. It hurt her, then comforted her, and then hurt her again. One evening he slapped her. It wasn't hard, but it was shocking. She stood still, staring at him in silence, waiting for an apology. But Rex didn't apologize. He simply said, "Next time, don't talk back." Then he walked away like nothing happened. That night, Isabella cried until her pillow was soaked. She looked at the man sleeping beside her and wondered how the same person who used to treat her like gold could now treat her like dust. She tried to tell her mother once, but Rex was always around when she called. And when her mother said, "Bella, are you sure you are okay?" Rex would quickly take the phone and say, "Mom, she's fine, no. She's just tired from cooking your son's favorite soup." They would all laugh. Only Isabella wasn't laughing. Soon, she began to believe that maybe she was the problem and maybe she deserves all she was getting from him. Rex slowly did what most abusers know how to do best. He broke her confidence without breaking her bones. The love story everyone envied had now become her silent prison. Her heart, once full of laughter, now carried fear. And yet, she still lied to herself every night before sleeping. Maybe he will change tomorrow. And oh yes, tomorrow always came, but he was worse. 7 months after the wedding, Isabella could no longer recognize herself in the mirror. The girl who once laughed loudly now spoke in whispers. The woman who once loved bright clothes now wore dull ones because Rex said too many colors make a woman look cheap. Even her skin was changing. Not from soap or cream, but from scars and sadness. Her eyes, once full of joy, now looked tired, swollen, and unsure. His friends, who got married the same year, often organized small couple gatherings. They laughed, shared stories, prayed together, and took pictures. But every time there was an outing, Rex came alone. "Where's Isabella?" they would ask. "She's not feeling too well," he would reply with a smile. "You know my wife now, she likes to rest a lot." At first, no one suspected anything because Rex was charming, polite, and well spoken. He laughed with everyone, cracked jokes, and even gave relationship advice. He was simply a very good man outside but a beast at home. He would say things like, "Marriage is about understanding your wife. She is your first daughter, and if you treat your wife well, your home will be very peaceful." Everyone will clap, not knowing that the same person talking has several personalities. At home, he made Isabella lived like a ghost. He didn't allow her to visit anyone. Even when she got pregnant, he still made her trek long distances to buy groceries. He had cars in the compound. But he said, "Don't drive. It's not safe for pregnant women." Yet he drove out comfortably himself. When Isabella's cravings started, he mocked her. "Why are you always hungry? You are acting like you are the only one to have ever gotten pregnant." When she was too weak to cook, he shouted, "You can't even do simple things as a wife." If she said sorry, he would reply, "Sorry for yourself, Atonlo." Each insult became heavier than the last. Sometimes, when she looked at her reflection, she said to herself, "Maybe he's right. There is something I may not be doing enough." And he didn't stop there. As he was using his mouth, his hands were not spared. Her body told her story better than words could, but she covered them with long sleeves and fake smiles. When her family or his friends called, Rex picked up. "She's sleeping, oh. She's not feeling well." Oh, she traveled to see her cousin. Different lies with the same goal, which is to hide the truth. One day, during their outing, one of his friends said, "Rex, we haven't seen Isabella in months. We should all visit her from here." He smiled and said quickly, "Ah, she traveled though. Maybe next time." But that next time never came. He made sure no one came close enough to see the bruises, to hear her tears, or to notice her silence. Eva had always been the sharp one among the group of friends. She was loud, funny, confident, and could tell when something wasn't right, even from far away. She was the first friend Rex introduced to Isabella before marriage. They became very close. But after the wedding, Isabella slowly disappeared from everyone's life like smoke fading from a burning candle. At first, Eva thought it was normal. Marriage changes people, she told herself. She's probably busy adjusting. But after 1 year, she realized something was wrong. Every time she called, Rex picked up the phone. She's sleeping. She's in the shower. Or she's with a doctor. Eva once joked to her husband, "If I didn't know better, I would think Rex married himself because we have never seen his wife again." Her husband laughed. Leave them, Joe. Maybe she's just enjoying peace. But Eva shook her head. No, peace doesn't hide you. That thought stayed in her mind for weeks. During the monthly couples gathering, Rex showed up again alone. He was cheerful, cracking jokes and acting like the perfect gentleman. He told stories about his wife's health, saying she had malaria, headache, or some imaginary illness every single month. Eva looked around the table and said lightly, "This your wife must be fighting world war with sickness every month oh." Everyone laughed, but Rex smiled tightly. "You know how motherhood can be now?" Eva replied calmly, "I know. That's why I will visit her soon. A sick friend deserves company." For the first time, Rex's face changed. Just a flicker, but Eva caught it. He said quickly, "No need though. She doesn't like visitors. You know my wife now. She's into herself." Eva smiled sweetly and said, "I didn't ask for your permission, sir." Rex laughed it off, pretending it was a joke, but Eva's eyes said it wasn't. That night, as she and her husband drove home, she said quietly, "Something is not right in that house." Her husband sighed. "Eva, don't start drama. Maybe you are just overthinking." She replied, "My spirit is not at peace. I know when a woman is happy and I know when a man is lying." Days passed and Eva's heart kept burning. Every time she remembered Isabella's laughter, it broke her heart to think that surgery could disappear completely. So one afternoon, she made up her mind. She told herself, "I am going to find out what this man is hiding." Her husband tried to stop her. "Eva, don't go and put yourself in trouble." She smiled mischievously. "If trouble lives there, then I will knock and greet it." She waited for their next outing as friends. She dressed simply so she wouldn't draw attention. When they were together, she sneaked out. The drive felt longer than usual. Her heart was beating very fast, but her mind was firm. When she finally reached the compound, she parked. She knocked, but no answer. She knocked again, and after a long wait, the door opened slowly, and there stood Isabella. Eva froze. The once beautiful, glowing woman she knew had become almost unrecognizable. Her skin was dull, her eyes were swollen, and her hair shook slightly as she heard the door. "Eva," she whispered weakly, her voice cracking. "Jesus!" Eva gasped. "Bella, is this really you?" Tears filled Isabella's eyes. "Please go before he comes back." Eva held her hand firmly. "No, I am not going anywhere. Look at you. Bella, this can never be you. Chai, what in the name of wickedness is this?" And he kept on saying you are fine or that you traveled. Kai, get dressed, she said suddenly. "We are leaving here." Isabella panicked. "I can't oh. If he comes home and he doesn't find me, he will." If I interrupted, "Then he will find me." Isabella looked frightened, but Eva's confidence was like a shield. "Where are we going?" she asked tearfully. Eva smiled and said, "To where your name will matter again." She carried her baby. Eva, please, she whispered. He will kill me if he finds out I left the house. Eva didn't slow down. My darling, nobody is killing anyone and nobody is dying. As they drove towards the usual couple's hangouts, Isabella begged, please, don't take me there. I can't face anyone. Look at my body. They will eventually ask questions. Eva smiled without looking at her. Let them ask. You have been silent for too long. It is high time you and your scars started talking. By the time they arrived, Rest and the rest of their friends were still there, laughing, eating and talking as usual. It was a bright Saturday afternoon, but the peace in that restaurant was about to end. Eva parked the car, walked around and helped Isabella out gently. The poor woman's clothes hung loosely on her body. Her arms wore faded marks and her face looked drained. Still, Eva straightened her head a little and whispered, hold your head high. Let them see what he has been hiding. She carried her baby. As they walked in, Rest was mid-laughter telling the story about how his wife traveled again. He didn't notice them at first. Then suddenly his eyes lifted and he froze. The laughter in the room died instantly. You could have heard a pin drop. Rest's face changed from shock to anger in seconds. What are you doing here? He shouted, standing up so fast. Isabella flinched and tried to hide behind Eva. Rest's voice thundered again. I said, what are you doing here and who brought you here? Eva said calmly, I did. He turned to her, his eyes full of fire. Are you crazy? You have no rights. Before he could finish, he turned and slapped Isabella hard across the face. The sound echoed through the restaurant and everyone gasped. But before Isabella could even blink, another slap landed, this time from Eva. Rest! Have you lost your mind? She shouted, shaking with anger. How dare you raise your hand in public like this? Are you an animal? Rest froze. He wasn't used to anyone standing up to him. The men at the table stood up one after the other. Rest, what's wrong with you? Have you gone mad? Do you even have a conscience? For the first time, he couldn't speak. His mouth opened, but no words came out. One of the men looked at Isabella and said, wait, is this what you have been going through? She nodded, with tears spilling down her cheeks. Eva shouted again. If she looked like this when you met her, would you have married her? Look at what you have turned her into. The silence that followed was heavy. Even the waiters in the restaurant stood still because it was a free cinema. Then, without waiting for Rest to say another word, Eva took Isabella by the hand again. Come on, you are not going back to the house. Rest tried to grab her wrist, but two of his male friends stepped in and pushed him back. Don't touch her, one warned. They all left together. Those same friends went to Rest's house, packed Isabella's clothes with her baby things, and then moved them to a free safe apartment that belonged to one of them. When Rest tried to call, they all blocked his number. That was the night Isabella slept for the first time in peace. No shouting, no slaps, no insults, and no fear. That week, their circle of friends came together. They decided that Isabella wouldn't go back to Rest's house, not even for toothbrush. They arranged therapy sections for her. At first, she refused. I am no mad, she whispered. Eva smiled. Therapy isn't for mad people, Bella. It is for broken people who are brave enough to rebuild. The first therapy section was hard. The counselor, a calm woman named Mrs. Carter, asked Isabella to talk about her life. For the first 10 minutes, she said nothing. Then suddenly everything poured out. The beatings, the isolation, the fear, the insults, and the shame. She cried until her voice disappeared. Mrs. Carter listened quietly. Then she said, you have carried pain for so long that you forgot who you are. But don't worry, you will find that glorious Isabella again. Each morning, Mrs. Carter made her write good things about herself. Some days, she wrote, I am strong. Other days, she wrote down, I am not the problem. And once she wrote, I am learning to love myself again. Mrs. Carter would read it out loud and say, that's my girl. Weeks passed and Isabella's laughter started returning. Small at first, then louder. And in that moment, she realized something powerful that she didn't need Rest's permission to be happy. 3 months later, she started running a small business from home, selling snacks and children wares with Eva's help. And one afternoon, the past came knocking. Isabella was arranging baby clothes on the rack when she heard a car horn outside. She looked through the window and her heart froze. It was Rex. Her hands started shaking immediately. For a moment she couldn't move. He stepped out of the car holding flowers and a small box. He looked different, or maybe just pretending to. He knocked on the door calling, Bella, please open. It is me. Isabella stood behind the door, afraid to breathe. The knock came louder. Bella, I am not here to fight. Please, I just want to talk. She wanted to ignore him, but curiosity won. She opened the door, and the moment Rex saw her, he dropped to his knees. I am sorry, he said quickly, his voice trembling. Please forgive me. I know I hurt you. I have been seeing a counselor, and believe me, I have changed. Please, let's make it right again. Isabella just stood there confused. His words sounded sweet, but her skin remembered his hands. He stretched the flowers towards her. For you and for our baby. She looked at the flowers, then at him. You are only sorry because people found out, she said quietly. He shook his head. No, I am sorry because I lost you. You were my peace and I've realized my mistakes. Please give me another chance. Before Isabella could reply, a voice came from behind, strong and familiar. Get off your knees, Rex. It was Eva. She came visiting. Rex stood up slowly, embarrassed. Eva, please. This is between me and my wife. Ex-wife to be, Eva corrected sharply. And I am not leaving her alone with you. Rex sighed. You have really turned her against me, haven't you? Don't forget you were first my friend and I introduced her to you. Eva folded her arms. And so? The silence was thick. Rex looked around. I have been seeing a pastor and a therapist. I am learning to control my anger. I want to be a better man and a better husband. Eva's tone softened. Then, keep learning. But you don't need Isabella as your experiment. He tried again. Please, just one chance. Eva stepped closer. You had many chances, but you used them to bruise her. Rex's eyes were filled with tears. You all think I am a monster? He asked. Oh, yes, Eva replied. And guess what? Monsters don't think they are monsters, and that's why they never stop destroying until someone stops them. Isabella had been quiet the whole time. Now she spoke, her voice trembling but firm. Rex, I don't hate you. I just don't trust you. I have healed enough to know that love without peace is punishment. I wish you well, but I can't come back. Rex wiped his face frustrated. He looked at her for a long moment and then he walked slowly to his car. Before getting in, he turned and said, I really did love you. Maybe you did, but love is not enough in marriage, she replied. As his car disappeared down the street, Eva put her arm around Isabella. You did well, and I am so proud of you. Thank you very much, she replied. For the first time in a long while, I feel in control of my life. Eva smiled. That is what healing looks like. That night, Isabella couldn't sleep. She wondered if he truly went for help like he said, or it was just another trick to win pity. Eva and the rest of their friends didn't take chances at all. They agreed that Rex would have to prove his change, not by crying and not by buying flowers, but by living differently. Talk is cheap, Eva said during one of their meetings. Even parrots can talk, let him show it. Meanwhile, Rex was indeed attending counseling sections. His therapist was a firm man named Mr. Douglas who wasted no time with pity. Why did you hurt her? He asked one day. Rex sighed. I don't know. It's how I grew up. My father beats my mother almost every day. Mr. Douglas leaned forward. So you became what you hated, Abby? Rex frowned. I thought it was normal. Then learn a new normal, the therapist said sharply. Pain is not a family tradition. You can't heal what you keep excusing. Those words cut deep. Rez began to realize that change wasn't about saying, I am sorry. It was about unlearning everything that broke him. Pride and control. For the first time, he felt small. Not because someone made him feel that way, but because he finally saw himself clearly. During one of his sections, he told his therapist, I think I am a changed man. Mr. Douglas simply said, Okay, but I won't believe this your change until it has been tested. He didn't fully understand what that meant until one day. He was driving home when his car suddenly broke down in traffic. People honked, shouted and insulted him. A young man walked up and banged his fist on the car bonnet, shouting, Can't you move this junk? Something rose inside Rex. For a moment, his mind flashed back to how he used to react, shouting, hitting, and breaking things. He stepped out of the car slowly. The man stood his ground, ready for a fight. Are you therefore just stupid? He barked. Everyone around watched, waiting for Rex to explode, but instead, Rex took a deep breath, looked at the man and said calmly, You are right. I should have packed better. I am sorry. The man blinked and was confused. Wait, what? I am sorry for blocking you, Rex said. The man looked embarrassed and then he mumbled, It is fine, before walking away. Rex leaned against his car shaking, not from fear, but from victory. For the first time in his life, he had fought his anger and won. The next day, he told Mr. Douglas what happened. The therapist smiled and said, That is it, you are really growing. Days later, he pleaded to see Isabella again, not to beg for marriage but to apologize properly. Eva agreed, but she warned. One wrong word and you are out. When he arrived, Isabella was sitting in the garden with his son. That sight alone made him pause. The same woman he once broke now looked peaceful, glowing and whole. He walked toward her slowly. Thank you for agreeing to see me, he said. I came to say this. I was wrong. You didn't deserve what I did to you. You were never the problem. I was. I grew up with pain and it turned into my language, but I'm learning a new one now. Isabella's eyes softened. I forgave you a long time ago, Rex, not because you deserved it, but because I needed to free myself. He agreed, fighting tears. You have every right to move on. I just wanted you to know that I'm a changed person. She smiled. I am happy for you. 2 years later, Ethan was bright and always full of questions. One evening, as Isabella helped him with his schoolwork, he asked innocently, Mommy, when are we going to start living with Daddy? The question struck her heart. She smiled and said, Why did you ask, baby? He looked up with his big eyes and said, Because my friends live with their daddies and mummies, and I want that too. That night, Isabella couldn't sleep. Her mind played everything like a movie. The pain, the therapy, the change, and now her son's innocent wish. The next day, Rex came to visit as usual to see Ethan. They played. Then Ethan turned to him suddenly and asked, Daddy, when are we going to start living together? Rex froze. He wasn't expecting that question at all. He looked at Isabella and decided to grab that opportunity. If mommy says so, we will. Isabella's heart melted, not because of the words, but because of the humility in them. Weeks later, After long talks, prayers, and guidance from their counselor, Isabella decided to give their marriage another chance. But this time, it wasn't the old one. It was a new beginning built on truth, respect, and peace. They had a small vow renewal at their church. When Rest took her hands, his voice broke with emotion. I once said I will love you forever, but I didn't understand what love meant. Today, I say it again, this time with a healed heart. Their friends cheered and clapped, especially Eva, who said jokingly, "Finally! But if you misbehave again, we go reset your brain before taking her from you." Everyone laughed, and from that day, Rex became a husband in the true sense, and he couldn't be more grateful for the kind of friends God had blessed him with. Hey, African Tales by Kamma Tribe, how are you all doing? For me, I am doing just fine. Tell me, did you enjoy the story? If yes, let me get to read from you what you think about it and tell me who your favorite character in the story is. Give the story a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel if you have not done so, and until I bring the next story your way, it's a goodbye from here and God bless you.